Hey there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, The Yana and the Book Hunt. Today I want to discuss with you all of the books that I managed to finish in the month of July because I read quite a bit of books last month. And yeah, I'm currently on my annual summer holiday. You'll see that I'm in a bit of a different place here. This is my mom's house. And yeah, I've been having so much fun here, really spending time with family, relaxing a little bit, going to the beach, spending time with my son and with my loved ones. And yeah, I've just had quite a bit of fun while I was here. So I haven't been reading too much, to be honest, but last month I did manage to cross off quite a bit of books off of my TBR. So I'll go ahead and discuss all of the books that I managed to finish. What I think I'll do is I'm going to do like really short captions, like the tropes within the books of the 2-star, 3-star, and some of the 4-star reads that I had, because honestly there's just too many books to discuss. And I'm really going to focus on a couple, I think 4 or 5 books that I really loved at the end of the video, so you can take a look which are my favorite ones. So please stick around until the end of the video to watch which ones I absolutely loved. I did DNF one book. I'm going to mention it, but I'm not going to talk about it in length. And then I had a couple of 2-star reads, a couple of 3-star reads, more on the side of the 4-star reads, and a couple of 5 stars as well. So I'll just go ahead and dive in and let you know what I read last month. Alright, so I'm starting off with worst to best here, so bear with me a couple of moments while I get to the best part. The first book I'm going to mention is a book that I actually did not finish. I typically don't DNF books, but this one was just too ridiculous for my taste. It's by Ashley Jade and it's called Fold, and I think it's part of a 3-book series. On paper, it sounded like I was going to love it because it focuses on a poker player or someone who is just addicted to gambling, and this is a type of plot that I haven't read too much of before, so it sounded very interesting for me, the concept. But it just got so ridiculous, especially by the 10% mark already, that it was like, I'm too confused, it just doesn't sound like it's for me, so I just put it down. I'm not going to mention too much about the plot. It's just something that didn't work for me. If you're interested in it, go take a look at the Goodreads reviews. I actually have a review on there if you're interested to see why it didn't work for me. It just wasn't for me. We'll move on to the next couple of books that I read, which are both 2-star reads. The first one I'm really sad about, I'm going to be honest, because a couple of the booktubers that I follow have marked this a 4-star, 4.5-star read, and I really thought that I was going to enjoy it based off of the opinions of the other people that I know. But I really didn't like it. The book is called Ghosted by J.M. Darhower. The tropes within the book are, we have like a celebrity actor person, we have a lot of drama, a lot of angst, we have a second chance romance, and we basically follow in past and present chapters how the two people within the book fell in love, how they moved to LA because they wanted for the guy to pursue his dreams to become an actor, and how they eventually drifted apart because he got caught up in the Hollywood lifestyle. And then eventually in the present setting, they already have a child together, and he kind of needs to rehabilitate himself so that he can join in on being a good dad and really trying to get a second chance with the heroine. On paper, again, it sounded really good, but the execution was so poor in my opinion. There was a lot of unnecessary drama. There was a lot of things that weren't tied well together, and both of the main characters, the hero and the heroine, just got on my nerves the whole time with being very undecisive and very, just their lack of good communication just grated on my nerves so much that it just was very irritating for me. So I really didn't like this book. I did give it 2 stars because there were some saving graces for it, but it just wasn't for me. The second 2-star read that I have is by Shanora Williams. It's called My Professor. This is a novella, and I saw that McKay from Oh Hey It's McKay was reading a Shanora Williams novella, another one. She mentioned that typically this author does novellas very well and that the spice is on point. So I really thought, okay, I have this in my audio library, so let me just pick it up. But it just wasn't for me because, okay, the tropes within the book are teacher-student, which sounds good. Taboo, obviously, because of the relationship between the two. And we have a virginal heroine as well. We have a commitment phobe hero, which is my problem within this plot. Because typically when we have a novella, the progression within the relationship needs to be done quickly, meaning that 9 out of 10 times there is going to be insta-love or insta-lust, and in this situation we have such a plot development. I'm not a fan of insta-love or insta-lust, but within a novella I kind of try to suspend my disbelief. But in this situation, when you have someone who very clearly states that he has issues with commitment, just the insta-love thing doesn't work for me. I just can't suspend my disbelief that much. So it kind of really didn't work for me. And yeah, 2 stars on this one. Next up, we have the 3-star reads. The first one is Fake It Till You Make It by Anne Harper. This one, I think that what didn't work for me is I picked up the audiobook for it. It was read in third-person narration, and 9 out of 10 times I kind of lost myself within the narration of the plot. It kind of lost me on who is thinking what and saying what, and really got me feeling confused. It is a fake relationship, kind of a small town romance, but the characters were kind of one-dimensional for me. There were some very cutesy moments, especially because of the small town. They're kind of doing this parade or festival, and they're organizing some things which just sound very cute because of the community is all pitching in to help with specific things that they're doing. And them faking a relationship and then falling for each other again is something that typically works within books, romance books, but it was kind of mediocre. I don't know, just the characters felt a little bit flat for me, so I didn't really enjoy it all too much. It was just an okay read. Next up, we have another 3-star read, which was also surprising for me that it was a 3-star read, because I saw that a lot of booktubers have rated this higher than I did. I don't know whether it's just something that didn't work for me at the time or whether it just wasn't the book for me. But the book is by Pam Godwin. It's called Deliver, and the book is a very dark romance. We have a virgin hero and we have a female kidnapper who kidnaps the hero for purposes which are very nefarious. She wants to sell him as a sex slave. So it's a very, very dark content within this book. And what didn't work for me, I think, is that the guy is supposed to be 17 or 18 years old, and he was presented as someone who is way more mature than a 17 or 18-year-old guy, someone who really took the charge in certain situations, and it kind of felt weird. I don't know, within the plot, I think that the idea was to have the woman being the dominant presence and someone who is the more stronger character within the book, but I don't know, that point kind of didn't work for me. I think that it would have been better if the lady, so the woman, was the one who remained the stronger counterpart within the story. I don't know if it's me, maybe someone experienced it differently, but for me, it felt like that. Next up, I'm going to be talking about a series. We have 5-star read, and then a 4-star and another 4.5-star read. So in general, they're like 4.5 stars in general. We're talking about Odette Stone's series, the Vancouver Wolves hockey series. Sorry, I needed to peek in my notes. So it's the Vancouver Wolves hockey series. The first one is called Fuck Me Secretly. That one I gave 5 stars. I discussed it in one of my previous videos where I told you that I absolutely love this book because it wasn't just an ordinary romance. We have kind of a forbidden romance. We have instant attraction. We have a plane crash in the beginning, and then a caretaking scene, and then we have them finding out that they shouldn't be together because they're working together. And yeah, it was just an amazingly well done sports romance. I forgot to mention this is a sports romance. And what else do we have? It's a forbidden romance. I mentioned that already. So this one is absolutely amazing. The second book within the series is called Home Game. It focuses on Ryan and Zoe. It's again a sports romance, a friends to lovers romance, and an alpha hero and a strong heroine romance. This one was absolutely superb as well. In the beginning, we find out that Ryan, who plays for the Vancouver Wolves, he needs to do this tax refund thing, paper, that we need to do every year. I don't know what it's called, and he's really bad at it. He's sitting at this coffee shop trying to do it on his laptop, and there is this girl who looks over his shoulder and kind of tries to help him through it, and then he offers to pay her to do the specific documentation, and she tells him that she's a bit of on a time crunch and she can try to help him, but she needs to be somewhere by a certain time. And then he finds out that she actually needed to be at the homeless shelter because she's homeless. So this was an absolutely amazing read as well. The only thing that kind of irked me is that there was a bit of drama with another woman. That kind of, it just irked me for some reason, so that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. So I think I gave this one actually 4.5 stars, and I absolutely loved it. And then the third one, the last one, it's not the last one I think, but the third one that I read is The Penalty Box, which focuses on Micah and Charlie. We have a marriage inconvenience here. Obviously, it's also a sports romance, and this book was also absolutely adorable and amazing. I gave it 4 stars, and I definitely recommend it. If you want to read the full series, do pick them up in order, because it will allow you to just read about the couples in order as well, because they have appearances in the other books as well. But yeah, this series is absolutely worth your time. Next up, I read the full series. No, I'm lying here. I read 3 books off of the series by Ana Huang, the Twisted series. It's Twisted Love, Twisted Games, and Twisted Hate. Those 3 books I managed to finish, and I actually have a reading vlog about the reading process that I'm going to link down below if you want to know my full opinions on them. What I can say is that overall, I'll have to give this, or at least these 3 books, 4.5 stars. The first and second book I gave 4 stars, and then the last one I gave 5 stars. So it's definitely a series worth the read. They're kind of romantic suspense. We have in the first one brother's best friend as a trope and a damaged hero. The second one, where we have Bridget and Reese, it's a slow burn bodyguard forbidden romance, and there's a lot of forced proximity. And then in the third one, we have Jules and Josh, who are enemies to lovers, best friend's brother, and forced proximity as well as tropes. And yeah, check out my vlog if you want to know about my full opinions on all those 3 books. They're absolutely amazing. And then the next 4-star read that I had last month is Try Easy by Joe Brashear. This book I discussed in my sports romance recommendations. I kind of picked it up because of that video, because I wanted to include a sports romance that includes a surfer. And I was really surprised by it because I didn't know anything about the book before diving in, but it just turned out to be a great read for me. We have obviously a surfer sports romance. We have a bit of insta love, which for some reason just worked for me within this plot. And we also have, what do we have? We do have cheating in this book, so be forewarned if you want to pick this up to kind of check out what may trigger you before you pick it up. But it's absolutely amazing. The setting is in Hawaii, so it's absolutely beautifully depicted. And yeah, I do recommend it if you like a good sports romance. Now, next up, we have Book Boyfriend by Claire Kingsley. This book is a bookish book, which kind of left me surprised as well. It left me feeling entertained. I picked up the audiobook for it and I kind of flew through it, so it was a good read for me. I kind of marked it 4 stars because of that factor. It just kept me entertained the whole time. I don't think that it's a wow read, but it's definitely entertaining. We have Alex, who I think he was trying to write a science fiction novel, but it was just taking him years and it just wasn't something that he could finish. So his sister, who is an editor, she gives him the idea to just try and write a romance novel. And he successfully does so, but he decides that he needs to publish it using a pen name because he's a guy and he's kind of worried about the wrong type of publicity when it comes to releasing a romance novel. So he did it under a pen name, and the book turned out to be a complete success. So he could leave his boring 9-to-5 job so he can focus on full-time writing, and he kind of made it big. Now, the interesting part about the plot development when it comes to the romance is that because he has an alter ego, who is a woman, he has a best friend online who is a blogger, and she absolutely loves his books. And they kind of chat for years, actually, I think, or months or years, I think, and they're really very good friends online, but they don't know each other in real life. But then it turns out that he also bumps into her in real life, and in the beginning they don't know who each of them are, but at some point he does find out who she is, and he has a predicament of whether he should be forthcoming and tell her that he knows that she is the specific blogger with whom he's chatting, or whether he should keep it a secret because he has a secret to keep for specific reasons. So yeah, even though there is lying by omission here, I still love the book. It was very entertaining for me, and yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Now, next up, we have a book that kind of really surprised me because I know I've heard a lot about it from many people on BookTube, especially from Brie from In Love and Words. She is a big fan of monster romances, and I've always been kind of hesitant and afraid, and kind of I didn't know whether they would work out well for me, so I kind of have avoided them until now. But I just decided to give one of them a chance, and I know that she has spoken very highly about CM Nascosta's Morning Glory Milking Farm. So yeah, I just decided to pick it up. This book was just so weirdly cool and weirdly swoony and weirdly romantic. It just, if you can get past certain aspects within the book, it's an absolute banger of a book. I gave it 4 stars, but there were still some things that kind of were a bit too much for me. To give you an idea, it's a monster romance which includes a minotaur. We have Violet, I think her name was, who has a lot of problems with finances, with money. She has an enormous student loan debt, and I think she lost her job, so she's been looking for jobs for some time, and she finds this ad where she can work at this milking farm for minotaurs. She doesn't know what it means to be someone who works there, what a milking farm is at all. But she agrees to start working there because the money is really good, and she has an amazing instruction into or introduction into how to become the best at what she does. And this is where she meets Rourke, who is a minotaur, and he immediately finds her special for some reasons. And yeah, Rourke is just an amazing cinnamon roll hero. This is what won me over within the story, because he was just so amazingly swoony and so amazingly, yeah, if you can just imagine a minotaur being this amazingly huge being and then him having such a warm and amazingly big heart. Yeah, it just does something to me. And yeah, it was an amazing book, so I think that is definitely worth the read. And I think that Brie mentioned that it's an amazing kind of an introduction into monster romances. So if you, like me, haven't read any of those yet, it's definitely worth the time to pick this one up. I have 3 more books that I want to discuss, which are actually my favorites of the month. So if you're here still with me, I think you'll enjoy this last part of the video, because I'm really going to gush about these 3 books. The first one is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. I'm going to post somewhere here the cover of the book with the author's name, because I dare not pronounce it, for I will butcher it, I'm sure of it. So I apologize for not mentioning the name, but this book was just so beautifully written. And I think that if you want to read a very detailed review of it, Alexis Hall has posted an amazingly detailed review of the book on Goodreads. After I finished the book and I read that review, it just kind of covered all of the bases for me. Everything that they wrote was exactly what I was feeling and thinking about the book. So if you're interested in that, please check it out on Goodreads. We have the first detail that absolutely blows my mind every time that I encounter it. It's happened 2 or 3 times in the past, when I figure out that the book's title is actually based on a song or some kind of a work of art. In this case, it's part of a lyric from a Florence and the Machine song, and I absolutely love that. Second thing is that I didn't expect what happened within the book. I kind of went in blind. I did know that it covered some form of grieving, but I just didn't expect what I encountered within the book. This book starts off with Faye, who has recently lost her husband, but she finds that she needs to somehow move on from the trauma that she has and the past that she has. So she has kind of a few questionable encounters with men, and she has a bit of a struggle with herself and finding her way into grief. But then she meets a guy, Nasir, who is, I believe, from the Bahamas, and he offers her a trip to the Bahamas because she's an artist, and he kind of wants to introduce her to this museum director who might be interested in her works. She finds this an amazing opportunity, so she goes with him, but she kind of leaves it as, you know, they were kind of attracted to each other, but she kind of wants to remain mainly friends with him and see how that would develop. So they didn't really have any clear boundaries of what they were to each other when they left. And then she goes to the island and she encounters someone, I'm not going to mention who, so it kind of can be a surprise for you too. That was basically the surprise for me within this book. I don't want to mention the trope either because it would spoil the fun. But if you want to know who the main love interest is, please pick up this book, because it was, first of all, beautifully written. The depictions of the Bahamas and of the food within the book, the art within the book, the grief, it was just beautifully written. I really recommend it. It was a beautiful book. Now, the next one that I also didn't expect to absolutely love, because I do like rom-coms, but I'm not like the biggest rom-com fan, and I typically wouldn't give 5 stars to a rom-com, but this one was just so entertaining that I couldn't leave it, so I gave it 5 stars. It's A Not So Meet Cute by Meghan Quinn. This book focuses on Huxley and Lottie. We have Lottie, who is in a very difficult financial situation also, and she recently lost her job, and she still lives with her parents, but her parents are actually expecting her to move out because she was expecting a promotion at work, but that didn't happen. So she thinks, as a last resort type of thing, to kind of go onto the streets and look for a rich husband. And she kind of bumps into him, which is the funniest thing ever. The way that they have this meet cute is just full of banter, full of amazingly awkward but also funny situations, because Huxley, who is the rich husband we're talking about, he is in a very difficult situation himself, because he's actually a billionaire. He has no financial problems, but he has been looking to make the deal of a lifetime. He's a real estate agent, and he has been looking forward to buying this land or something. And the guy he needs to buy from kind of is this type of guy who wouldn't just sell to anyone. He really needs to have the connection with the person he's selling to, and he doesn't feel Huxley too much. So what Huxley does is something very idiotic but very extremely funny. He meets this guy by chance at this coffee shop with his pregnant fiance, and he kind of blurts out that he also has a fiance and she's also pregnant. So him not having a fiance, or actually a pregnant fiance, just makes the situation not only awkward but absolutely hilarious and ridiculous. So them two, Huxley and Lottie, they strike a deal for both of their benefits, and it just brings out a lot of banter, a lot of laughter, a lot of awkward situations, really, really awkward and embarrassing situations, and it just made me laugh the whole time through. That's why I gave it 5 stars. So it's definitely worth the read if you want to have a good laugh. Now, the best book that I read in the month of July, that is probably going to end up as my top read, or at least the top 3 it's going to make. If I don't read any better books than this one, it's going to be the top one. It's called Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And I'm going to say it again, but this book really took me by surprise, because I am familiar with other works by this author. I haven't read them, but I've heard a bit here and there, and the things that I've heard were mixed reviews. So some people love the works, others are a bit hesitant about loving them. So I didn't know whether I was going to love it, but then I heard Brie from In Love and Words again talking about how this book was absolutely amazing. So I kind of skipped her review of the book so I wouldn't find out what it was about. I just heard her say that it was a favorite of hers, so I just purchased it. And I am not sorry that I did, because it was absolutely amazing. In this book, we have our main heroine, who is called Alexis. She kind of has car trouble, like she's 2 hours away from her hometown, and it's this hole in the wall town that she has her car troubles in. And we have Daniel, who helps her out to fix her tire or whatever it was. And they end up meeting again at the bar of the town because she needs to eat somewhere, and they have this amazing banter and an amazing night that they spend together. But Alexis kind of has a very difficult situation that she lives in. in her real life outside of this chance encounter. She is an ER doctor, and she just recently decided to break off a very long-term and toxic relationship with one of the doctors at the hospital that she works in. And actually her family has had these expectations of her getting married to him, and they don't understand why she broke it off. And they also have these expectations of her, especially her father, about her career as well. So she's been living basically on borrowed terms in life. Like everyone is dictating how she should live, and she has kind of been wanting to break this off. And this is where Daniel comes in. He kind of gives her a very different perspective in life, because he is not in a world where he is very well off. He is doing everything that he can to kind of mend the holes within a sinking ship, if you will, because he is running an inn that he wants to keep afloat. He is also a carpenter. He is the mayor of the small town, and everyone relies on him for some reason or other. And yeah, he just shows her a very different type of life and different type of perspective. And she kind of finds out that the life that she's been living has been very shallow, very, yeah, not the type of life that she maybe would be proud of if she kind of reflects back. So I'm just so happy that I picked up this book, because it really, every single chapter filled my heart with something special, something amazing. I don't have the right words to describe how much I appreciated this book. Also, maybe because it was an adult fiction book where we have someone who has this long relationship that failed and that they need to come to terms with. It just really brought something home for me. Not that I have this specific problem at my hands, but it just really made me think about, wow, how would you feel if you're with someone for 10 or whatever, however many years, and really you have plans to maybe get married and have children, and then everything falls apart. How do you process that? It really just made me think a lot, and I really appreciated this book. So if you want to pick up any of the books that I just mentioned, this one is definitely the best gem, at least in my opinion, that you should definitely read. Thank you for sticking around and taking a look at all of the reads that I had in the month of July. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know if you read any of the books that I've finished, or whether you're interested in any of them. Maybe we can discuss them in more detail. And yeah, I hope to see you very soon in the next one, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care. Bye bye. See you in the next one.